Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jay Greenstein coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. I'm here with my friend and the CEO of SecureCare, Mr. Lou Anderson.
Hi, Jay.
Good afternoon, Lou.
Hi, pleasure to be with you.
Always a pleasure to be with you, Lou. Always a pleasure. So we're going to have a little bit of fun today. We're going to talk insurance, which isn't always the most fun thing, but for us, it's kind of fun. We're going to talk insurance. We're going to talk specifically about SecureCare, and we're going to talk about some of the things that are happening nationwide that ultimately is going to impact what's happening here on the East Coast for the ECA IPN. So Lou, let's talk about the most important developments that have happened, let's say, over the last 6 to 12 months.
Well, I'd say the network, the SecureCare network continues to grow, and that's predominantly because of new insurance contracts that we're securing with large insurance companies. Biggest example right now is Minnesota. We've got that fully implemented. And the most important element of that Blue Cross implementation, well, there's a couple. First and foremost, we got the first fee schedule increase for doctors of chiropractic in Minnesota that they've seen in 25 years.
Wow.
Some doctors got as much as 20% increase because they had a multiple tier schedule, so it's a little complicated, but anywhere from 8 to 20% increase in reimbursement, first time in 20 years. And we did that within the first year of our relationship with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota.
Lou, just so that everybody understands, I mean, you and I have had these conversations many times, but the audience doesn't always have all this information. How did that happen? Like, it wasn't like you pulled a rabbit out of a hat. Like, this is a formula that you've used in Nebraska for 25 plus years. It's a formula that you're translating across the entire country. Just explain, in the most basic way, how that happens.
Relationships, number one, and number two, fulfilling the promises that you make. So we have a long track record of success with Blue Cross Blue Shield in Nebraska. And what we're finding is that one of the things that's making SecureCare successful is the weakness in our competitors' business models. So we've got a whole raft of competitors out there whose business models are becoming well known as being over-engineered, not fair to the provider. And so when Blue plans or other insurance companies are looking at options, they're looking for technology-driven, efficient models, and our competitors can't deliver that. So the combination of the fact that we've done a great job, that we're fair to the providers, we're 100% referenceable. And what that means is all of our clients are more than happy to call up another insurance company and say, hey, these guys are great. Great example of that is Blue Cross Blue Shield in Minnesota knows that another Blue plan right now in another part of the United States is actively looking for a chiropractic network management solution. They called them up proactively and said, look at SecureCare. They're the right solution for you. And we're a considerable way down the track and closing that deal with that Blue plan.
What the audience may not also know is that with Minnesota, your company beat out another very well-known, very poorly regarded third-party administrator, and that there are other things happening across the states right now where that very poorly regarded third-party administrator is in a Blues plan, and SecureCare has been contacted to possibly supplant them as well. So it seems like the insurance companies are starting to understand a little bit better why a good partner, a good strategic partner matters.
I think that's right. I think the word's getting out, and SecureCare is making a lot of investments in making our presence known on a national level with, for example, going to national conferences. The Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association has a national meeting every year where all the Blues plans go, and they powwow and convene about important matters. And there's a big exhibit hall, just like states have with their conventions.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've started going there and basically exhibiting and networking, and we've networked with Highmark and all the Blues plans that carpet the East Coast IPN area. And so we're building those relationships, and it's I think it's going to pay dividends over time.
Now, there's another development with one of the Blues. I don't know if I can mention it, but you are expanding your capabilities in order to compete with some of these other third-party administrators. Can you talk about that at all, Lou?
Sure. One of the weaknesses of SecureCare, and Jay, you were with us at our strategic away session in Miami, where we charted a course for the future of healthcare, SecureCare. Really appreciate you coming and contributing to that, because we made some real important decisions. And one of the most important realizations that we came to was the fact that SecureCare is kind of a one-trick pony. We're a chiropractic network management company, but when we go in to basically pitch our solution, a lot of times what we were finding is the executives with the insurance company would say, well, yeah, but these other vendors, they do physical therapy, acupuncture, massage therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. Can you do those? And our answer was always no. And they said, well, we just had a communication today with a Big Blue plan where we're now going back and taking a lap through, because we're officially announcing that we have expanded into physical therapy. We have our first sale, if you will, our first Blues plan that's going to be using us effective July 1st as their exclusive physical therapy network management company. That gives us the opportunity. It gives Eric Osterberg the opportunity, who's helping to represent us out there, take another lap through all of the insurance companies East Coast and say, hey, it's a different SecureCare now, much more robust product portfolio, capabilities that might be a better fit today than they were 1 or 2 years ago.
Yeah, and that's really important, and it's important for the audience to understand that if we don't have a large enough network, we're not going to get the contract. And so SecureCare has taken some pretty significant, and I would even use the word bold, steps to remove all barriers to entry into the network. If you can briefly talk about that, Lou, I'd appreciate that. And then I'm going to just discuss a little bit about what it meant for the 500 plus doctors that did make the initial investment into the network and what it means for them as well.
Sure. Well, we learned a lot over the last 5 years. SecureCare is expanding in other states because we're trying to help the profession. And our original thesis was that if we were successful in Nebraska, you take what you did in Nebraska and you do it everywhere else, because if it worked here, it's going to work there. That proved not to be the case. Things like our $2,000 sign-up fee, things like requiring doctors to use a specific EDI vendor. While they work in Nebraska, and we still have those elements in Nebraska today, we're not changing our business model in Nebraska because we don't want to, we don't need to, because it works. Mm-hmm. But what we learned was, when we're going to greenfield or new states or new markets, some of these components that have worked for 2 decades in Nebraska aren't transferable like we thought they were.
Sure.
We came to the East Coast, we asked all the doctors, we showed them our vision, asked them to do what we had done in Nebraska. And like you said, hundreds of doctors bought into that model.
Literally.
And it did give us the resources to do what we're doing and making the investments in SecureCare to make us scalable. But it wasn't enough to make the network big enough. And quite honestly, a lot of the doctors pushed back against switching EDI vendors, and insurance companies really weren't all that jazzed about some of these heavy requirements on the front end. So we've re-engineered the process to try to remove as many barriers to get doctors to sign up, try to remove as many barriers to get insurance companies to sign up. Because in business, if you don't change your business model and adapt to marketplace realities, then you're going to go out of business. And
sure.
So that's sort of a characteristic of chiropractic in general. Chiropractic profession, the business model never really evolved. SecureCare's job is to try to evolve our business model to be successful in the realities of today's healthcare market. So I know a lot of doctors, this is some pretty complicated business stuff, and some doctors might struggle understanding, whether it's fair or whether someone was taken advantage of. But I can assure you everything SecureCare has done is to try to have one end goal in mind, and that's the betterment of the profession. And we really, honestly, you know, without the endorsement of people like you and your leadership, because you're so much closer to SecureCare, you see what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, and you know that, you know, what we're really trying to accomplish at a very high level, and that's extremely important to the future of the projects that we're undertaking.
Yeah, and I think it's also important for the audience to understand the ones who paid in, like myself, and I paid in for multiple doctors because I have multiple doctors in my practice. So it was a pretty substantial investment for me personally. Right. The management fee will be significantly lower than those who just didn't go in, didn't make the investment at the beginning. And again, the management fee is just that small percentage, a few percentage points that are taken off each claim that really helps to fund the network, which then 50% of those profits comes back to the state associations. And like in Nebraska, you pay those dollars back out in dividends. So when we get a large contract, it's very, very possible that within a few years, that $2,000 investment could come back to the doctors.
Absolutely. In fact, we're having our convention next week in Nebraska. So we're really excited about that. We always, get real excited around convention time because most of our doctors come. So it's a good time for everyone to get together and celebrate successes and things like that. But I decided to go back 10 years. I've been with SecureCare for 10 years now. And I went back and looked at the, I think it was either 5 or 7 top CPT codes billed by DCs in Nebraska, since it's the Nebraska convention, compared those CPT codes to what they're getting paid today. On the low end, it was a 25% increase. On the high end, it was an 89% increase in reimbursement. So that the SecureCare fee is for doctors in Nebraska is inconsequential. It's the $2,000 they paid in, and the monthly, the per CPT rate that we charge is inconsequential compared to what has been paid back to them over the years, year after year after year after year.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Dr. Don Hirsch and I, we were out there and we were doing our due diligence to evaluate SecureCare as an organization to partner with. And I will literally, Lou, I will never forget that one very well-dressed, you could tell he was one of the respected leaders in Nebraska, stood up in the back of the room and said, "We are so fortunate to practice here in Nebraska." And I've shared that story many, many times with the folks in Maryland and the folks in Virginia. The folks even in Pennsylvania, we went to talk to their board about joining us. And it was just true. It was kind of remarkable because I don't know that anybody stood up at a convention in Maryland and Virginia, as awesome as our states are in Pennsylvania, and that have stood up and be like, "Oh, we're so fortunate to practice here," because we fight so many battles all the time. And I think, again, you guys have demonstrated a tremendous track record in Nebraska. And speaking of that, I think, this video has gone on fairly long, so we don't want to, make it too long for people, but one of the most important developments that's happened in Nebraska is the Medicare program. So I need you to tell the audience how what's happening in Nebraska is differing and is substantially better than what's happening at the national level with Medicare. So can you share with us that information?
Sure. We worked with Blue Cross Blue Shield in Nebraska to create a completely new Medicare Advantage product that's now being marketed and sold on the street. And unlike most MA or all MA plans that I'm aware of, except for this one, and certainly just the regular Medicare, our plan covers more than just 3 CMT codes. It pays for office visits, exams, X-rays, It's not a complete scope of practice type of reimbursement, but it's significantly enhanced over what most doctors are used to with just getting a CMT code.
And is it safe to say this is like a demonstration project where you're going to demonstrate that total costs will be lower plus total healthcare costs will be lower?
Yes, it's being marketed. Blue Cross is actually using expanded chiropractic benefits as a sales tool, as a marketing tool to get people to sign up for their product, because they know that there's a demand for it. And they also know that the individuals that are signing up for that type of benefit tend to be healthier and use less pharmaceuticals and have a different outlook on their health care. So we're actually tracking the claims expenses, and we're going to do a side-by-side comparison of how did this Medicare Advantage plan perform against other Medicare Advantage plans that are more traditional. And we're going to be able to then document that it's advantageous for insurance companies to have expanded chiropractic benefits. And quite honestly, we're talking to the ACA too. Congressman Adrian Smith here is on the House Ways and Means Committee. He's going to be very instrumental in the voting process in Congress as to whether Medicare benefits get expanded. And he's here in Nebraska. So it's a big deal that the Blue Cross plan in Nebraska, I mean, and they're not doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They're doing it to make money.
Yeah, it's a business.
It's a business. So they're actually going to, we're going to have Congressman Adrian Smith and SecureCare and people with Blue Cross. And we think we can really advocate for this. There's a demand for it, and it's cost effective. It's good for the patients, good for the doctors. So we're super excited about it.
Yeah, I think it's a great development. What I also greatly appreciate is the fact that there's this coordinated effort to drive change. And that matters a lot, especially in chiropractic, where sometimes efforts are disjointed and not aligned. So it's great that you guys are working with the ACA to move the needle in that regard. Lou, it's been a interesting couple of years since we started here with East Coast. We thought we had a contract.
Right.
The National pulled the rug out from under us as it related to Aetna. We're going to share some of that information shortly about what we know about what's happening in 2018 and what might happen in 2019. Members of the state association like Dr. Bibu Misra and others have done a lot of work to investigate what's happening with Aetna, and we'll have some information coming out shortly. But for me, I've been doing this since 2009, and I know, and being the CEO of your company, what it takes to be successful, and one of the most important qualities to be successful is freaking perseverance.
Right.
And what's it's not really amazing to me because I kind of get it, but to a degree I don't, is that you have these doctors that don't pay attention to what's going on. And granted, we could always do a better job of communicating. I mean, look, how many times have I kind of bitched at you and held your feet to the fire about communicating with us, which is one of the reasons why we're doing this video today.
Right.
And we could certainly do a better job as well. But hey, I'm a practicing doctor also. I mean, I have a day job. This is my volunteer work. Right. So, go a little easy on us, docs out there that are getting impatient. But it's like, it takes time. And what's more frustrating than anything are the doctors that don't pay attention and then have these demands and want to know why nothing's happening, or I don't understand the management fee. And like we've explained it 1,000 times, like, for God's sake, get to convention, because we have a report at every convention. Read the newsletter because we're putting stuff in the newsletter. Pay attention to what's going on and understand this is a long-term strategy.
Right.
And doctors just need to understand that. And, and like you said, I have a different perspective because I am close to the news. And me being close to the news also, and this because we've had a lot of conversations about this, doesn't mean that I don't understand who my customer is. My customer are my members. All of our members in the state associations are my customer, and I'm always there for them first. And that being said, there is great alignment with what SecureCare is doing. And I truly believe, especially after that meeting in Miami, I truly believe that SecureCare is on the right track, and we've just got to stick to it, be patient. We've got to get doctors to join the network. There's no barriers anymore. And then go circle back to these large and small carriers and review our additional and new, and I will use the word Kaizenovated, continuous improvement through innovation, new Kaizenovated business strategy by adding things like physical therapy to the value proposition. That's going to help us win the game. And by the way, there are other vultures out there other than the usual suspects. There are new ones that are starting to attain some contracts. Yeah. And we've got to be careful not to let those folks impact chiropractic. So that's my little rant, because I'm doing this a long time, and I need people to be patient. And I need people to get behind this effort and join the network. We, as a profession, need people to get behind this effort and join the network, because you all are doing great work. And and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jay. It was great to be with you today.
You too, buddy. I will talk to you soon. And all you people out there, yeah, I'm pointing at you that are not part of this network, it is time to join. No excuses anymore. Like if we want to move the needle for chiropractic and we don't want these other vultures coming into our states, get off your butt, go to SecureCareCorp.com, right, Lou? SecureCareCorp.com?
That's correct.
And just get credentialed. It's free. There are no barriers. You don't have to switch anything. Just go join. All right.
Amen.
That's it for me. Lou, great to talk to you. I will talk to you soon. Keep up the great work, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Jay.
See you, buddy.
Bye.